members of the committee. Senate Bill 91A prohibits fire departments from using firefighting foam containing perfluoroalkyl or polyfluoroalkyl substances, otherwise known as PFAS substances.
So we have two invited witnesses, Senator Solman and Senator Robinson. Welcome to both of you.
Welcome. I mean, welcome to welcoming me. Thank you. Good morning, Chair Levy and Vice Chair.
Whoa.
Oh my God, you have just kerfunkled me all
That is this woman from the hearing room.
Sorry.
Blame Senator Robinson.
I'm going to try this over again.
Okay.
Good morning, Chair Liggett.
Say it louder
Vice
so he
Chair
doesn't dagger me.
Vice Chair Levy and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Janine Solman. I am the state senator for Senate District 15, and that includes areas of Forest Grove, Cornelius, Hillsborough, and the Rock Creek area of Washington County. I come before you today in support of Senate Bill 91, a bill that will phase out the use of firefighting foam containing PFAS in Oregon. PFAS is a class of chemicals that are extremely harmful to both the environment and to human bodies. We have taken action in this legislature to remove PFAS from cosmetics, personal care products, and children's products. It's time to take action on firefighting foam that contains PFAS and protect our first responders from further harms caused by these chemicals, which have been linked to cancer, to high cholesterol, reproductive and thyroid problems, and immune suppression. This bill is a very simple bill. It will phase out. This will allow for existing stock of firefighting foam containing PFAS to be used up, and then once that is gone, it must be replaced with foam that does not contain PFAS. We spoke with firefighters who helped determine the phase-out date and let us know that the existing stock should be used up fully by July of 2026. There are also current research-based effective products on the market that can be used as alternatives. This is an achievable goal and will protect both our public safety, first responders, and our environment. So just to give you a little bit of background, I learned about this national movement to ban PFAS firefighter foam at a CSG national conference in New Orleans. And I did some ride-alongs with local fire stations. I asked if this was a possibility. Before bringing a bill forward, I asked the professionals. And the folks at Forest Grove and Tualatin Valley Fire Department no longer use firefighting foam containing PFAS. And if stations want to get rid of the product prior to July 1, just as they have done, there are options for replacement product exchanges. So I urge your support of Senate Bill 91, a bill that is brought forward not as a punishment to fire stations, but in partnership for our first responder heroes and sheroes and their health and well-being and the health of Oregon's environment. And I urge you to take a look at some of the testimony, including from the Oregon Firefighters, the International Association of Firefighters, the AFL-CIO-CLC. So thank you, colleagues. I urge your support.
Thank you.
You're here in support, right?
Senator Robinson.
Thank you. I'm Senator Robinson from District 2 down near Grants Pass, and I appreciate being able to testify before the committee. We have a slightly different opinion on this. I'm opposed to the bill. But first I'd like to say I appreciate Senator Solman's concern about firefighters and worrying about the chemicals that they use, because it's a very important issue. When you aerosolize chemicals, when you spray foams, you want to wear a respirator when you're applying paint. And what's in those foams can be very harmful. A lot of these chemicals, you get high concentrations of them. So it's a worry. I did ask, and first I would say that my first opinion of was the bill is sort of unnecessary, because if the firefighters are phasing out anyway, why do we have to tell them to do that? I have not, as a you know how it is up here with so many different things to do at once. I haven't been able to investigate as far as I can. It's been asserted that the new chemicals are just as effective, which they may be. I don't know their patent statuses, whether once we switch, whether someone can raise the prices. I don't know any of that. It may not be a concern. But assuming that you can change, I think you should, the firefighters, if they feel the new foam is better, can change. Senator Solomon very kindly gave me a few papers, and I haven't read deeply on this. There are some weak correlations with PFAS and cancer. Correlations don't prove causality in science. You find that out. I'm a chemist. And I can take a urine sample and put it in a mass spectrometer. We do some work on this, trying to correlate big measurements and try to see if we can see diseases early. And if you're not careful with the statistics, you can find lots of things that correlate, and it's coincidence. So, but it might very well be real. But the main thing that worries me about the bill is that PFAS is as the definition, is basically any chemical with a polyfluorinated or perfluorinated group. And I don't know how many of you remember your chemistry, but you have a carbon backbone, and then you have a lot of fluorines on it. It turns out because fluorine is very electronegative, it makes a very stable molecule. This has been useful. These molecules are used everywhere in all sorts of things. But the class of chemicals is thousands of chemicals that are in industrial use. It's hundreds of thousands of possible chemicals. And if you ban the whole class, because we're worried about it, from ever being in firefighting foam, where will we be on, because who knows, maybe we'll want an even better foam than we have today, because these things are constantly being worked on. And if the manufacturers find that some other form of PFAS, which is useful, maybe totally, and most of these chemicals are going to be fine, is available, this won't be available for them to even experiment on in the future. So you could, in the end, hurt firefighters because we never know what will be invented. So I also come from a perspective where I prefer not to make regulations we don't need. I worry about this. And once you have a law from the state, it's hard to fix. So we have been slightly at odds with this. I think I'm going to convince her to like plastics at some point. But, no. Oh.
Record, no.
Anyway, that's my concern for it, and so I would. I oppose the bill on those grounds. But again, I want our firefighters to have the very best equipment, and I appreciate that everyone's concerned about it and looking at it and worrying about it. So thank you very much.
Vice Chair Levy.
Thank you, Chair Lively. And so can I ask you, being the scientist that we all know that you are, is there any PFAS that is safe?
Well, PFAS is, for example, Teflon tape. I don't know of anybody. It's more a question of what can you prove that's dangerous. Because at some level, I mean, you can take a natural product, put it in your mouth, a cigarette, and smoke it, and it's very bad for you because of the chemicals that you're ingesting and just the pyrolysis products, just a zillion things, the soot and everything. So at some level, everything's dangerous, and at most levels, most things are relatively harmless. And so you do have to, but yes, there's lots of fluorinated compounds that are perfectly safe. We put fluoride in the drinking water. That's fluoride itself, but there's fluoride in the drinking water. It's not as though fluorine is evil, as there's just the ion itself. So yes, there's lots of safe compounds. I can't prove that they're point at one and say, I know that nobody will ever find some link in that chemical, but there's very few that have been identified this way.
Other questions?
Can I
I think
respond?
Senator wanted to,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry, no, Senator Solomon had her
Can I
hand up.
respond?
Okay, Senator Solomon.
Chair Lively.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I would say that what I think the most important part of this, this process and this bill is that we talk to the firefighters, and we didn't want to include things such as turnouts and things like that contain PFAS, because there isn't a research-based product that will protect them in such a way. There is with firefighting foam. There is already a product that is PFAS-free that they are using. I say some fire stations are. Not all fire stations have made this exchange. And so we wanted to make sure that this is an encouragement. It is like phase it out and go to the other. When we pass this bill, we'll be the 16th state in the United States to outlaw this type of foam. And so we're not the first, we're not going to be the last, and really just saying that we worked with the firefighters because there is a replacement that is less harmful for them and less harmful for our environment, but still does the job.
Thank you. Representative Gamba.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
So I'm hearkening back to a conversation I had with Rep. Graber some time ago. And I'm recalling her telling me that firefighters have a significantly higher rate of cancer. And there were some particular cancers, and I can't remember off the top of my head what they were, across the board. And I wanted to, are there any things that point to the PFAS being part of that problem?
Chair Lively and Vice Chair Gamba, I don't want to answer that specifically. I do know there is science based on connection of PFAS chemicals and different types of effects to health, whether it is reproductive, whether it is, I think I included that within my testimony, cancer causing. And we do know, we've passed a few bills. I had the privilege of working and passing some of those bills with Representative Graber to protect our firefighters, because we do know they are exposed to more cancer-causing material. My daughter-in-law's uncle was one of the first firefighters in Portland that experienced work-related, I forget the terminology as well, but cancer-causing, his cancer was caused from work and the environment that he was in. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we are looking at these harms and trying to give them a means to protect firefighters. And honestly, and as I mentioned, there was talk nationally about the turnouts. And this was kind of eye-opening to me. My dad was the first volunteer founding member of the Gales Creek Volunteer Fire Department and in the 70s. And I still have his turnouts, and I still have his boots, and I still have his helmet. And we have done things like fun little relays, with my kids where they were doing, trying out the turnouts and then running. I just got chills because I had no idea that those turnouts contain such chemicals. And it's the awareness, right? We want to make sure that now that we're learning these things, that we don't put people in harm's way. And that is, so that's a concern. And hopefully they are currently now working on research and testing the turnouts for different, to be able to look at safer options. And when that comes about, I'm sure that Rep. Graber, with her, her experience and her knowledge, will be first in line and ready to carry that. And I know I'll be happy to support her in that as well.
Thank you.
Representative, please, Edwards.
Thank you, Chair Lively. Thank you. My dad was a Portland firefighter. I have his helmet in my office, the old school metal, And my question for you, though, is, so you've spoken to, and Forest Grove has changed over to the new foam, right? Mm-hmm. What is their report back to you? How long have they used it? How is it working for them?
Chair Lively, Representative Edwards, I'm not certain if they just did not report any problems with it. When I did the ride-along, they were like, yeah, we don't use that. That's not something that we use. And so, and then I actually had found out through working on this and working with some of the advocates that there is opportunities for exchange programs. So the company that sells the PFAS foam has an exchange program allowing them for returns and then providing them the PFAS-free foam. So there are ways that fire departments can get rid of that sooner. But we actually wanted to create this bill that didn't cause financial harm too, as well to some really, really small fire districts. And really worked with them and said, well, let's do a phase out. So.
Yeah, one of the best volunteer, as you know, is in my backyard. And so, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Doesn't sound like it. Oh,
Sorry, Chair.
Representative Neron.
May I? Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry I missed I'll go review the presentation you had on PFAS. I was in another committee testifying. But I did want to just appreciate this conversation. It's something that I've really been trying to lean in on. Around the time I came into the legislature in 2019, I believe that's when SeaTac Airport was trying to study the PFAS-free alternatives and make sure that they're safe. And I think affordability has been one of the conversations. But we've known since a memo in 1978 that these are chemicals that don't biodegrade. I can't remember, biodegrade. So they, we really have to take as much precautionary stance, I believe, with a chemical like this as possible. And when we have safer products, I do hope that we are insisting that we use them. My understanding is that the airports in Washington State are all switching away from firefighting foams containing PFAS, and I do hope that Oregon follows suit. So thank you, and I'll look forward to reviewing the presentation that you had that I missed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you for bringing this forward. Thank you both for testifying and providing some perspective on this measure. I appreciate that. It was a good way to start our Senate bills.
go.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, if the bill had been to encourage the firefighters to consider this carefully and look at it, I would have supported it. You understand?
Okay, thank you. Any further? Thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm going to close the hearing on Senate Bill